newspaper presses won't warm you on winter nights. So hold me close and whisper soft to me. Perfection CBS, just lovely NBC. From newspaper presses won't warm you on winter nights. So hold me close and whisper soft to me. Perfection, CBS, just lovely NBC. And as we part, these words I need the most. Come back soon, New York Times. I love you, New York Post. Newsday, Village Voice, Variety, Backstage, all that chat. I love you, New York Post.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to If It Only Even Runs a Minute, the 11th edition. The 11th edition of evenings dedicated to rare and inspiring stories, songs, and photos from underappreciated musicals.
That was Bret Shuford singing Smashing New York Times from the musical, A Broadway Musical. That is actually the title of the musical.
If you've never seen one of our concerts, I was worried you might think that was like a theme song we wrote for the concert. It's not. It's from an actual show, we promise. A Broadway musical, you can see the logo on screen, had a score by Charles Strauss and Lee Adams, who had written Bye Bye Birdie, a book by William F. Brown, who had written The Wiz, and direction by Gower Champion, who directed Hello Dolly and a million other hits, and if you don't know what they were, I don't know what you're doing here. No, I'm just... Oh my God, I'm improving already.
You're judging our audience. That's great.
Set to open on Broadway in 1978, it was a true showbiz story. Strauss and Adams wanted to write an autobiographical musical, chronicling their experience working with Sammy Davis Jr. on the musical Golden Boy. And there they are doing that. I feel really bad for that man, whoever that is. I don't know. In the words of Strauss, it would be a musical about white people who write a musical for a big black star. I guess that's funny. Okay.
White people are hilarious.
Funny, ironic, racially charged, and filled with life's imbalances.
Now, A Broadway Musical was being produced by Norman Keane. He was a producer famous for producing On a Shoestring, with hits like Oh Calcutta and Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. Since workshops were becoming popular in the late 70s after a chorus line, it was decided to do a part workshop, part production at the Riverside Theater of Harlem to develop the show.
I like to think that the title was at least somewhat inspired by a chorus line. It was right after that time, a Broadway musical. And if this had been a hit, we would have gotten like a stage management office and like a vocal studio and a bunch of other sequels. That's not like an idea. Don't run with that. The plot found a white producer exploiting a black author and his drama about basketball called The Turning Point. The show within the show was turned into Sneakers, the musical. That is not from a Broadway musical. I made that on the computer.
NYMF 2017.
Yeah, we think this might be a good NYMF idea. Maybe. The show spoofed showbiz lawyers, idealistic young playwrights, glitzy Las Vegas performers, blue-haired matinee ladies, and black-themed musicals themselves. In the end, the author of Sneakers ended up saving the show by jumping in to star in it in the last minute, as you do.
Now, the second act opened with an usher cleaning up the theater. He mused, "They don't make them like they used to," and began recalling the golden theater era of his youth, before the stage transformed into an old-timey BuzzFeed Berkeley number, a fantasy called the 1934 Hot Chocolate Jazz Babies Review. Now, Champion also staged a big number called You Gotta Have Dancing, which spoofed every style of Broadway dance, and there were several great standalone numbers.
The song you just heard was sung at the end of the evening by the producer character and his wife. It was actually called What You Go Through, which I think rather than Smash New York Times, so that in the program it wouldn't give away the plot, I guess, or so that the critics wouldn't have a punchline to use, I guess, probably. The song was actually cut from the hit Strauss and Adams show Applause, but they wanted it to be heard, so they put it in a Broadway musical, where unfortunately more people didn't hear it because a Broadway musical closed on opening night. I love how invested everyone is already.
So, when a Broadway musical began performances in Harlem, it had quite a few problems. Rather than letting original director George Faison take a crack at fixing it, Keane immediately fired him and replaced him with Gower Champion. He also brought in a movie theater mogul as his co-producer who had never worked on Broadway before, and his name was Garth Drabinsky. While the unconventional tryout helped the show save money, it started a word of mouth in New York that the show was in trouble. The show got the unfortunate nickname a BM, as in a bowel movement.
As far as show nicknames go, that's one of the worst ones I've heard. Sorry. Strauss and Adams didn't see eye to eye with Champion about what the show was. They had one point of view about the racial elements and the serious message they were trying to tell, and Champion saw the musical as more of a comedy with a racial background. There was an irony in that the producers had replaced a black director with a white one in a show that was about that, which is just strange. And in another irony, one of the show's stars, Guida Don Howe, played the producer's wife and was actually married to Norman Keane, who was the producer of the show. In real life, which is very tragic, he killed her and then killed himself. Look it up. I'm not sharing details right now.
Google that. The reviews were all-out pans, and Julius Novick of the Village Voice called the show the best Broadway musical since Platinum, which had just opened a month earlier. Yeah. And it had horrible reviews, so it's like the best thing. Peter Felicia later made the comment that it was odd to see a show that was such a mess, but that had so many songs that were individual showstoppers.